Trev, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay, Stacey?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. So let's see how we get on here.
There's a bit of a lag. I don't know if it's from my side or yours.
Okay. Is the picture all okay?
Yeah, it's you just when you're moving, it's like you slow kind of thing. You can see that it's lagging.
Interesting. Yeah, I've just shut down everything else just in case, just to make sure there's no other stuff in the background slowing things down.
It could be
Are you on as a Can you say that again? Yes.
Let me just you're the presenter. I'm just we got Tandeka on.
All right, hey everybody. I'm seeing people coming in as we go. Hey, I see Tandeka there. Welcome, Tandeka. Who else have we got here? We'll be kicking off in a few minutes as people start coming in. Right, everybody that's there so far, we're going to kick off shortly. Obviously, just give people a minute or two to get in and get comfortable. We often find at the webinars some people need a minute or two just with connection issues or getting into the technology or what have you. So we'll kick off shortly. So make yourselves comfortable. I hope everybody's got a cup of tea, and we'll be able to get going soon. But thanks for joining us so far. I think. All right, well, if everybody's comfortable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and then we will kick off and get going. So, yeah, in a second. Give me a second as we just sort out the technology this side too. Okay, so Stacey, if you are there, just want to quickly double check, are you seeing the screen and seeing me as well? Stacey, if you could just unmute yourself and just let me know the technology is working. Sorry, folks, just tuning in. If you don't mind, just 1 second. I just want to hear back from Stacey so that we can confirm that this is working okay. I could just hear you there, Stacey. Say that again. Say that again, please. Yes, now I can.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just gonna pop up. I can see your screen, obviously in view format, not in large screen.
Not in large screen.
No. You
Okay.
must go to, when you go to preview.
Okay, I'll share in a different way, so not to worry. Give me a second. I'll change the way I share. So showing. We'll go here to sharing. Okay, so let's do it this way rather. Let's see, how's that? Is that working a bit better?
I can't see anything.
Okay. Sorry, folks, just tuning in
there
there.
We
We just
I can see you now.
So you've seen the Pinktober slide.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, with that, and we've got the technology sorted out, because that's the world we live in nowadays. I suppose it's good that we can get going. And yeah, we're going to get into our workshop here. So great to have you on board, anybody that's on the call there today. And I see a few names of people I recognize. So good to have you guys here. So yeah, it's Pinktober or October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Action Coach does a lot in this space, getting behind it. And one of the things that we do is actually do workshops like this. The business has been going for 26 years, and one of the key things that we love to do is share business information, business education with people out there. So we regularly run workshops like this where we find time in the diary and business workshops for business owners and entrepreneurs out there on ideas on how you can improve your business. So well done for everybody that does get behind initiatives like Pinktober, as we like to call it, and globally Action Coach does a lot in this space. So one of the things we also do is we give away a lot of free coaching sessions. So if you're a business owner and think you might need to sit down with somebody and have a second pair of eyes, look at your business, get in touch with us. There's a lot of slots we've opened up inside my diary and with our clients, our colleagues as well. So get in touch and get a second pair of eyes into your business and sort of see what's working, what's not working. So the material I'd like to share with you today, it's a workshop that we call the 6 steps to building a better business. It's, what are those things that entrepreneurs can do to build better businesses? And there's 2 sides to building a good business. We've got to get a business really profitable, and that's a skill we need to learn. There's a lot of businesses out there that might look really good on the outside, but when we get behind the scenes, they're businesses that actually aren't as good as they look. They're not making money, and that's the first purpose of a business, is we've got to get that business profitable. But importantly, it's not enough just to have a business that's profitable. We've got to get a business that works, a business that works efficiently, but also a business that works without you, because we're finding, again, some great businesses out there, but we have a business owner or business owners owning and running businesses that are working themselves to the bone, working like 8 or 10-hour days, 6-7 days a week. And even if the business might be profitable, the owners of the business are working so hard that they don't actually get the opportunity to enjoy those profits or to actually enjoy the lifestyle that can come with owning a successful business. So what I want to be doing with you this morning is actually sharing what we call the 6 steps framework. And this is a framework a system that we've been using with businesses for 26 years now, basically a roadmap on how you can build a better business. Because it's a key skill that we need to learn. It's not just the core trade of what we do. We need to learn the skill of how to build a better business. So what I want to do is teach you these steps and show you how you can use those same steps inside your business. So welcome onto the call, whoever's on here so far. As I say, there's a couple of names that I recognize there, 1 or 2 names that I haven't met before. So welcome on board. For those that don't know us, a quick introduction to Action Coach, or Action Coach Business Coaching, which is actually our name. So Action Coach, as you can see on the screen here, we're a business that's been around a while. The company is now in its 27th year of existence. We're a privately owned business, founded by a guy called Brad Sugars, who has been very instrumental in driving the growth of this business over the years. He founded the business 26 years ago, and Brad actually coined that vision statement that you can see on the screen there: world abundance through business re-education. That is and will continue to be our vision for many years to come. We believe in abundance. We believe there's enough money out there, there's enough wealth out there, there's enough customers out there for everybody to grow a successful business. But what we see in reality is often businesses grow to a point. We're successful to a degree, and we find businesses hit a kind of a glass ceiling and don't break through to the next level of growth. And the point, the area that businesses grow to is basically the level of education or the level of skill of the business owners. So if we have a mindset and a skill that gets us to be a $1 million business, that's great, but we'll never get to become a $10 million business unless we get the skill of how to grow a $10 million business. If we're a $10 million business, we won't become a $100 million business unless, again, we learn the skill of how to build a business to that level. So our focus is business re-education. So what we're doing is we're working with business owners, business entrepreneurs around the world and teaching the skill of how to own and run a successful business. We do that in many different ways, through one-to-one coaching, through education, through workshops, through books, videos, group training programs. There's lots of ways where we teach people how to do business in a better way. And often it's very obvious, simple things that people, when they learn the skill, they go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it could be that easy. And our goal is to help achieve abundance. We work to that, we drive that. Brad, who, as I say, runs the business, he pushes us all the time on how many businesses have we helped this week, this month, this year. And very proud of this. We've the company has been independently voted the world's #1 business coaching firm. And we're quite proud of that. There's very few businesses that have reached what we do. We're in the top 50 franchises globally. We've got close to 1,000 offices around the world. And actually, we've actually just hit over 80 countries now that we are represented globally. So where the business started in Australia, New Zealand, and grow from there 26 years ago, we are still growing and putting coaches in new countries all over the show. So good to meet you and good to spend some time with you here. My name is Trevor Clark. I'm a business and executive coach with Action Coach. I've been in the organization for 11 years now and loving what I do. So just a quick background to myself is, I'm based here in Durban, South Africa. This is where I was born and where I grew up, moved to Johannesburg. As a kid, actually, finished schooling, almost finished schooling there, actually moved across overseas as a teenager and spent a couple of years in Europe with the family there and actually started working there. Then came back to South Africa to did my tertiary education up in Johannesburg and started working in Joburg. Got all sorts of great experience in sales and in marketing. Took another international opportunity. I'd always had this goal to own my own business. I love the idea of entrepreneurship. I love the idea of franchises, and I'd always been looking at franchises. I'd love the idea of owning a franchise business. I'm not sure if anybody's heard the statistics of survival rates of business, but you'll know that there's a global statistic that only 50% of businesses survive their first 2 years of existence. There's a 50% failure rate of new businesses. On top of that, of the businesses that survive 2 years, only 20%, or I think it's close to 10% of those, survive 10 years, which is quite a phenomenal statistic. It's quite a scary statistic, and that's not a South African stat, that's globally. Only 10% of businesses survive 10 years. But if you look at franchise businesses have a much higher survival rate. The survival rate of franchise businesses is close to 80–90%. So I'd always believe that a franchise is the right way to go, because basically a franchise business has got the systems in place, the brand in place, the equity in place. When you buy a franchise, you're buying a business that already somebody else has actually done all the hard lessons for you. So I'd always been looking at franchises. I looked at things like Mug and Beans and Nando's and all sorts of ones like that, which I wanted to buy. When I was younger, obviously didn't have a lot of cash, and the cost of buying a franchise business was prohibitive. So that's actually one of the reasons I took a contract overseas. I took a contract in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and went across to make some money, because that was my goal, was to save up enough money to be able to buy my own business, 2-year contract, to be able to earn US dollars and come back. And yeah, what happened in that time is actually got into another business, got one of the businesses we were working with in Saudi offered me a position setting up a new office in Bahrain, and from there we grew our Middle Eastern presence and actually grew an amazing business. We spent 3.5 years in Bahrain growing the business there. We actually moved the whole company to Dubai, and from there grew grew the business, spent another 5 years in Dubai, growing an amazing business in the design, corporate communications, consulting. But I ended up just short of 10 years in the Middle East, which was never my goal. My goal was to spend 2 years there and come back and buy a franchise. But it was an amazing business with an amazing group of people doing great things. I'd actually ended up as MD of the business. But all the time, I'd always been looking at different franchises, looking at different businesses here in South Africa. I never found exactly what kind of floated my boat. And in 2009, they had just launched Action Coach in South Africa. And I discovered an advertisement where they were looking for coaches to represent the franchise here. And it sounded interesting. I'd worked with coaches before. I'd heard about coaching as a vocation. And I applied and found out more about Action Coach, and I literally fell in love with this business. It ticked all the boxes of the business that I wanted to be in. And B, it was also one of the best franchises I'd seen. The systems, the training, the support that we got in this business exceeded anything else that I'd looked at. So yeah, back in 2009, sold my shares in the business overseas, packed up the family, and moved back to South Africa. Went across to the United States, and in the States is where we have our global head office and training center, and that's where I spent a lot of time there learning, certifying how to become a business coach and how to coach people, how to help people successfully. So that was back in 2009. We set up the business. Coaching was brand new in South Africa. Nobody had heard of coaching. Nobody had heard of Action Coach. And yes, the first couple of years was an amazing learning curve, helping people grow the business, but also learning how to grow our business ourselves. If you take a South African perspective now, we're in a different space. When I first joined, there was just a handful of us in the country. We've now got over 50 certified Action Coach business coaches spread out across South Africa with brand recognition, and so many clients out there that have worked through our system and telling people about what we do. So I love what we do, and I'm going to give you a taste of that now and show you the system that we use. Because what we do is we get results in businesses. We teach people better ways of doing business. So I think I truly believe I've got probably one of the best jobs in the world. I make a living by helping other people build amazing businesses in the process. So I'd like to share that with you now. So just a quick one though, what I want to talk about over the coming hour or two is I'd like your permission to be your coach. And some of you on the call might have worked with a coach before, some of you might not have. You might have worked with a business coach or an executive coach possibly. If you haven't, there's a good chance you might have worked with a sports coach. And whether in school or whether you've done sports or athletics in some capacity in your adult life as well. But think of top sporting teams out there, top athletes out there. Can you think of any coach, of any athletes or sports people that have achieved the highest levels in their chosen sport without a coach or without a number of coaches? And you'll see a lot of the top athletes out there they'll have a conditioning coach, they'll have a strength coach, they'll have a mindset coach. If you take a golfer, they might have one coach that's working on their long distance game and another coach that's working on their short game. If those of you that like rugby, same thing, you'll have a backline coach, you'll have a forwards coach, you'll have the senior coach there. So you have a whole coaching team, and it's the same in every sport, soccer, you name it, tennis. So the key thing is it's the same in business. If you want to achieve more, you need to surround yourself with a team of people that are going to help you get there. It might be a coach, it might be multiple coaches, it might be your legal advisor, your HR advisor, your financial advisor, your accountant. Are you using your accountant? So bringing it back to coaching though, is coaches sometimes, yeah, we're the person there to support the team. You know, we help train the team, we expose the team to new ideas. We're there to give encouragement and a pat on the back when things are going well. But also understand that the coach also has to be the bad guy sometimes. Sometimes we have to have the uncomfortable conversations. We're the people that have to give people a push, because you'll agree, those of you in business, there's days that you are highly energized and doing amazing things, and there's other days, I'll bet that you wake up and don't want to get out of bed, because building a business, there's ups and downs, and there's good times and there's bad times. But that's the point of engaging a coach inside your business. Just like an athlete, if you've got a clear goal that you want to achieve a lot in your sport, we have those days that you wake up and it's raining, the weather's not great, and you're not feeling so well. You know, if a good athlete, you phone your coach and say, "Coach, I'm not coming to training today," that coach is gonna kick your bum and say, you got to get here and put on your running shoes and meet me at the track and we do laps. That's how we need somebody sometimes to push us. So the reason I asked this question, your permission, as a coach, sometimes we have to ask a difficult question. Sometimes we have to have uncomfortable conversations. We're the people that have to watch what people are doing and point out the observations we make. So what you'll find is when I talk now, there's some of the material I'm going to share with you. Sometimes I'll say things like, you might do this or you might do that. When I say you, I mean you as business owners, as entrepreneurs. We see trends, we see patterns that entrepreneurs, traps actually that entrepreneurs fall into. So I'll sometimes generalize because there are common patterns and common challenges facing entrepreneurs around the world. So I'm not pointing at you in particular. When I say you, I'm talking about you as entrepreneurs in general. But if I ever do say something that you take offense to, that probably means I've struck a nerve and we should probably look at whatever that area is, because often that's what we do, is we uncover the areas that people don't want to talk about. But we can have some blunt conversations about business. Because business is challenging. Running a business is a challenge, and people all have challenges in business in a different space. And these are the kind of areas, and I guarantee just about everybody on the call, there's probably a specific challenge that you'd like to drill down on. It might be around sales and profitability, and often that's one of the first areas that we need to work on, where we're helping businesses grow. Other businesses, you might find your profitability is okay, but you work in crazy hours, and that's probably an area that we should look at in terms of time management, diary management, delegation skills, and we work a lot in that space to free up time. But importantly, if you want to get a business that's working without you to a degree, we need to get a good team that can run that business for you. Otherwise, it's always going to be up to you to be the magic inside the business. So different people need help in different areas. Some people need help in all of those areas. What I'll show you as we get into the system is you'll see how they're all linked. There's a set sequence on how they trigger each other, and I'll show you a roadmap that you can work through that'll actually improve all three of those areas over time. And what we find is when we work with business owners, regularly people have these, we call them BFOs, blinding flashes of the obvious. A lot of people know exactly what I mean. You might be on a webinar like this, you might be at a workshop, you might be reading a book, listening to a radio DJ interview a famous business person, and every now and then you'll hear something, an idea, and you get that little light bulb in your mind. We call them blinding flashes of the obvious, those aha moments. Like, oh wow, I should actually do that. That little idea might actually help my business. But we call them blinding flashes because the idea hits you fleetingly, it's your subconscious mind solving a problem for you. But then your brain is solving lots of problems all at the same time. Your mind goes off to solve another problem. So if we don't recognize that blinding flash of the obvious, take a moment, write it down. Then as soon as you can, go and implement that blinding flash of the obvious, because we can forget them. So often we have that idea, and you'll probably resonate with this. You can have an idea, a blinding flash of the obvious. You hear somebody say something, you think, oh, wow, I should do that in my business. And you get back to the office and you see one of your colleagues, your husband, your wife, whoever it might be, and you say, oh, I've just had this amazing idea. And have you ever had it where it's gone? It's as fast as the idea hits us, it's gone again. It becomes what we call a scotoma, where it's actually on the tip of your tongue, but you can't think of what the word is. And that's why we've got to write it down. We've got to implement it. It might be a simple little idea that you can delegate onto somebody else to implement in the business. And I challenge you to do this as often as possible. Always keep a piece of paper, even next to the bed, when you wake up at night and have that idea, implement the idea. Because what we find happens if people don't implement BFOs or blinding flashes of the obvious, 6 months or a year later, you have one of these moments where we get hit by a train smash. We lose a lot of money, we lose a client, we lose a key member of staff, something at a higher level, possibly high level calamity, or just a real frustration happens in the business. And we know, then we remember that BFO from 6 months ago. If we'd implemented that one little idea, this wouldn't be happening right now, because we didn't take action 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 3 years ago. So please, I do ask, and I teach this with all of my clients, if we're there in coaching sessions, if we're running workshops together in group coaching sessions, we actually have a rule that where there's a group of people together, if somebody has a blinding flash of the obvious, you've got to raise your hand, you've got to share it with everybody, and then you've got to write it down, implement it as fast as you can. So hopefully, if I'm doing my job right over the next hour or so, You'll have a couple of blinding flashes, the obvious as well. And just little ideas that'll make a phenomenal difference in your business over time. And that's what I'll also show you, is building a business is not one little idea, one little silver bullet that changes your business overnight. It's lots of little improvements consistently over time. That's how we grow an amazing business. So a lot of us have business in a different place. We might be like this chap on the top left, or we might be more like this chap on the bottom right. You know, we have people that are out there be driven by the business. So there's a business that's a runaway train, a car that's out of control, and we have a business owner that's trying so hard to hold it all together. And then a lot of you might already be in that space, or you might know somebody in that space, that they've got these businesses that are just working well. They are living the lifestyle that most people crave. They're making good money. They're dictating their own hours, and are being able to not just be in the business, but also devote time to do other things. It might be time with the family. It might be time traveling, time on holiday, time doing other interests. And too often people have that vision, and when we decide to open our own business, that's the belief. Just about everybody out there that I've ever met, when they have the idea to open their own business, they picture themselves like this person on the bottom right living this amazing life, because businesses can do that. Owning a business, you can generate phenomenal profits, and you can build an amazing lifestyle if you get it right. But what we find is too often we meet people 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years into business, and they don't have that lifestyle. They're buried in a business that's not making money, and they're working really hard. And this is my passion in life, is helping people change that cycle and helping people achieve what we can do inside a business. So there's a natural evolution. We see this happen in businesses around the world. Michael Gerber talks about the entrepreneurial myth, and we help people in exactly this space, the evolution of how most businesses evolve. And picture this. Some of you on the call, your business might have evolved the same way, or you'll know people where it's gone like this. Most of us, we start with a job, right? We work for somebody else, and that's where we start our careers. And we forget how lucky we are to have a job. Somebody else is teaching us the skill and paying us the salary. So jobs aren't as bad. A lot of people think that jobs are like terrible things. Jobs are amazing, and I think a lot of people aren't grateful enough to know how lucky you are to have somebody pay your salary while you learn a skill. And some people spend their whole life in a job working for other people, which is perfectly fine. Some people do really well in that space. Other people spend their entire life in a job working for somebody else, miserable. So you got to be clear, a job might be right for you, might not be right for you. Some people have a job and also have a business on the side. So, but think about this natural evolution for a second, where somebody owns a job, and picture any industry. It might be a plumber, a car mechanic, a hairstylist, an accountant, an engineer. Somebody works for somebody else. My favorite example is a hairdresser. Working at a hair salon, this lady's been there for 10 or 20 years. She's maybe the top stylist at this hair salon. Most of the customers know her by name. She often gets requested. She has keys, so she arrives in the morning, opens up, and she locks up at night. She's the senior stylist in this job working for somebody else. And one day, this lady has this entrepreneurial spasm, as Michael Gerber likes to call it, where she wakes up one day and says, you know, I'm working really hard. I'm working crazy long hours. I'm not making enough money. I'm being underpaid. I'm being underappreciated. If I started my own salon, I'd make a lot more money, and I wouldn't have to work so hard. That entrepreneurial, and that's where a lot of businesses start. And this lady, what did she do? She hands in her resignation. She sets up a little business at home. A lot of the customers know her, and they're on WhatsApp or in her phone book, and she lets them all know that she's working at home. So a lot of the customers follow her. And now suddenly the house is the business. The kitchen is now the salon, and she's washing hair in the kitchen sink and cutting hair at the dining room table or the kitchen table, whatever it might be. And it's great. And there's a lot of you on the call that have probably been in that exact same space, and you remember when you first started your business. That's great. Now suddenly you decide your working hours. You decide what music is being played on the Bluetooth speaker. People pay you cash, and the cash goes straight in the pocket. It's your money, and it's a lovely space. That's what we call the space of being self-employed. But what happens is at some point being self-employed isn't enough, because at some point you want to have a holiday, but you think, well, hell, if I have a holiday, I'm not going to make any money. You get sick. You don't have the luxury of taking a sick day, because if you take a day off or you stay in bed for a day to recover from a cold or a flu or something, you're not making money that day. Or even if we're doing very well, there's only so many haircuts you can deliver in a day, and there's only so much you can charge per haircut. So we sometimes find the business hits a ceiling. So how do we grow the business to the next level? Well, now we need to hire some staff. But now you can't work from home anymore, because the family is going to complain. You now need to get offices, so you now need bank accounts, and you need to register a company. You need to register for tax. You need to hire staff. So now you suddenly start becoming the manager. Now you hiring and recruiting and putting systems, and there's staff coming to work, not coming to work. You're having to train staff. There's all these new dynamics that come into play, and now you're not just getting to do whatever it is, cutting hair, fixing cars, or what have you. And that's where we find is the frustration point, where a lot of people get to this point and going, well, hold on, I'm now working for a job. I'm now working for myself. And I'll ask you on the call, I'd love to know, but I've often asked this with a group of people live, who is actually, and ask yourself this question, are you making more money now owning your own business than you were back when you had a job? And we find this is a reality. We find so many people 1 year, 2 year, 3 years into owning their own business are working even harder and making less money than they were when they worked for somebody else. And you'll see what this acronym means. JOB stands for just over broke. People working really hard for less money. And this is the trend that we see pretty much close to 80% of the business owners I meet. If I ask that question, are you making more money now? Are you paying yourself more money out of your own business than you could be earning back in the marketplace? And there's very few that are actually taking more money out of their business than they could be elsewhere. So we need to change that. So the last thing I'm saying is close down your business and go back and ask for your job again, because that's tragic. This country needs more entrepreneurs. This country needs more successful business owners, growing successful businesses, and hiring more people. But we need to break through that level and get the structures right, that we don't just own a job, that we can own a business, and a business that is profitable day in, day out, whether you're there or not. Then we can own a business. So we want to break that cycle. I mentioned some of those statistics of business failure. What was it? 50% of businesses failing in their first 2 years, and of those 50%, only 10% make it to 10 years. And there's lots of different reasons. Obviously, there's buyouts and there's people moving countries and things like that. But one of the main reasons that businesses don't break through and make it to the 10-year mark is we find business owners are trying to do it all themselves, not getting advice of the right people. People have a problem, and sometimes there's pride that we don't go and ask for help. Other times we're asking the wrong person. If there's a challenge in your business, well, sometimes people that you might be running your own entrepreneurial business, but then getting advice from somebody who's been working for a salary in another business all their lives. It's a different reality of running your own business that there is for working for somebody else. Are you surrounding yourself with independent advisors that are giving you unbiased advice? Too often people are getting advice from family members. And you'll know you don't often get the best advice from your family members. They'll often give you advice to protect you in their minds, but often advice that's totally contrary to what's going to be successful in the business. Or we're going to our unemployed next door neighbor for advice. So it's about surrounding yourself with good accountants, coaches, advisors, and speak to the right people. Because often what we find in business, people don't know what they don't know. We think we know everything until we get exposed to the new ideas and better ways of doing it. So don't do it on your own. And that's the game that I'm in, is helping people find better ways of doing business. So if I had to ask you right now, what comes to mind if I say, what's the purpose of the business? Now, if I had to ask each of you on the call, why did you start your business? I'm sure I'd get lots of different answers. Some people started their business because they were retrenched and couldn't find a job. Other people might have got pulled into a business. It might have been a wife's business or a husband's business, and the spouse gets pulled into the business. Often parents pull their children into their business. Other people have started their business for some real altruistic reasons, people that have this big idea on how they're gonna, as Steve Jobs used to call it, they want to make a dent in the universe with this big vision of how they're gonna change the reality of human beings around the world. So we've all had a different vision or reason why we started the business. But I don't know why you started the business. I want to quickly remind you the purpose of a business. Any business, what the business should be doing, regardless of why we started it, profitably creating raving fans for excess income to invest. So firstly, we've got to be profitable. Then we've got to have a sales and marketing machine that takes such good care of our customers that they become raving fans. And by raving fans, I mean they love your business so much, you've taken such good care of them that they give you repeat business again and again and again, and they're going to tell their friends about you. So your customers actually become a marketing strategy in their own right. We're not just creating income. I don't want your business just to be making enough money to cover payroll and expenses. We're going to be making excess income for profits that go to you, the owner, but also excess income that we invest and build a good, strong balance sheet to that business. We've come out of it, or coming. COVID has been with us for a while now, and it looks like it's going to be with us for a while to come. And everybody's got through it in different ways. Some businesses haven't made it through COVID. There's been lots of businesses shut down. Other businesses have come out of it quite damaged. Other businesses I've seen that have come out of COVID even better businesses than they were going into it. People that have had to totally adapt the way they do business. My business included. We're a totally different business coming out of this than we were going into it. So imagine now, though, those businesses that found lockdown the easiest were the businesses that had good savings, good balance sheets, good investments, had cash that could fund the downtime. That's one of the first things you should be trying to do in your business, is at the very least get about 3 months operational costs locked away in a pretty liquid investment structure, whether it's a money market account or just a savings account at least. And the idea is always, regardless of COVID, we should be able to weather any storm for about 3 months. That imagine there's no income for 3 months, but then we can still cover our salaries, areas like that. But now how many businesses did you see in the first week of lockdown, even some listed companies doing retrenchments and cutting back? Now, if people were cutting back and doing retrenchments in the first week or so of lockdown, chances are there weren't any cash reserves inside that business. There might have been problems already. But imagine a business that's got enough investments to weather 6 months or to weather 12 months of storm. Those businesses are in an amazing space right now, and if you're not one of them, imagine how nice it would be right now to have extra money available. This is a lovely time to be shopping, whether it's shopping for real estate, there's a lot of houses available, whether it's shopping for shares, whether it's shopping for, a lot of you might have competitor businesses that have closed down, that haven't survived lockdown. Imagine how nice it would be right now to be out buying those businesses. And I know people, I have people that knock on my door regularly saying, Trevor, if you know any businesses that are for sale, let us know. And if anybody on the call is in a space like that, we get involved in a lot of that as well, helping people buy businesses, also helping people sell businesses. And it's not always about selling the whole business. What we've helped a lot is often businesses bringing in partners and only selling a portion of their business. Because there's a lot of great investors out there that are looking to acquire businesses or looking to acquire stakes in businesses, and we help negotiate those deals and helping you find buyers to either buy the entire business or buy a portion of the business, and then strategically leveraging those relationships. So how nice would it be for you right now to be in that position? You've got a competitor that's closed down, you could be buying their stock at crazily reduced prices. You could be hiring their staff that are now available on the market there. You might even be buying their database. You might be, so there's businesses for sale right now as well. So we always want to be ready for a storm. And yes, we've had a pretty serious storm this year. 2020 is one for the books. Is it the first storm that the global business community has faced? Definitely not. Is it the last storm that global businesses have faced? For sure not. There's going to be more. So the main thing is always with our business, are we making money and are we investing it wisely? So we have with reserves, just to survive, but also that will allow us to take advantage of downturns in the future. So there's our purpose of a business. How do we know if we have a successful business? That's a different question again. What comes to mind if I say the definition of a successful business? What words come to mind? This is the definition that we use in Action Coach. Commercial, profitable business that works without you. Commercial, in other words, it's a real business. It does what it says on the box and the foundations are strong. Profitable, it is making money consistently, not just profits on paper, but profits that actually lead to cash in your bank account. A business that works consistently every time, it's properly systematized. And with those things happening, you can then hire team members to run those systems, and then you don't have to be there all the time. That's what I want to show you here. I mentioned that I was always a lover of franchises. What we use in our coaching process is actually we use the franchise system to help you engineer a better business. So a lot of what we do is we have good businesses that get us on board to help them franchise. They want to now start selling franchise as a way of expanding their footprint in the business or in whatever their territories are. Or we often get brought in for existing franchises to help them clean up and improve the existing franchise systems. So I'll teach you now how you can use franchise thinking to get yourself a commercial profitable business that works without you. I'm not saying you have to franchise the business, but think of your business as a franchise. And the roadmap that I'll share with you now is exactly that. It's a roadmap to get you ready to franchise, whether you want to or not. So as I mentioned, the 6 steps to massive results. This is the system that we use in all 80 countries that Action Coach is operational in around the world. I mentioned our training center in the States. Anybody that's a certified Action Coach, business coach will have gone to our global training center and learned this system. This is the system that we use with our clients, whether it's a small 1-2 person startup business or an established business that's been going for 10 years plus and has got 100 plus staff and upwards. Basically, we use the system to help you identify what's working, what's not working, and let you running repairs on the business in the logical sequence. And it's a sequence that's very important. So literally what we've done in Action Coach is define the natural evolution of a business. And in a coaching program, we help you fast track the evolution of the business. So in a nutshell, and then what I'll do is I'll drill down on each of these levels for you. But very briefly, it is just like building a house. When you're building a house, you don't start with hanging pictures on the wall and painting the ceilings. You start with foundations. In our world, we call that mastery. So the foundation level, that's what I want you to look at first is, have you got solid foundations? Are you building a business from a stable base? Sometimes it's taking existing businesses from chaos to control. So we look at a couple of areas, and I'll drill down on that in terms of checking the base of your business. Once we know that you have a stable business and you are self-aware that you're comfortable, your foundations are in place, now we should look at getting a lot of cash flowing through the business. We use the word niche, but that basically means marketing and sales. We want to get good at marketing and sales to bring on clients, make sure they stay, make sure they give us repeat business and pay their bills. So now we start generating cash. Once we're stable, we're generating cash. We want to turn our attention to leverage so we can start freeing up more time inside the business. Leverage is all about, are we systematized for better efficiencies? Once we have our systems in place and we're comfortable that we've got good, solid working systems that are documented in such a way we can teach them to people, now we can start growing the team. Now we can start hiring new people. We do a lot in that space. I'll talk about it briefly towards the end of the session, helping people recruit great people. But also you start getting more out of your existing team. And you see there, I've got the byproduct of getting this right is happiness. You'll find that suddenly the team just starts gelling to a better level as we start making these improvements in the business in a step-by-step fashion. Synergy, which is the next level there. Synergy, in my definition, is synergy is that point you get to where as a business owner, you find your business is working, it's profitable, but you don't have to be there 24/7. Synergy is one of those days where you wake up and the weather's not great, it's raining and it's miserable, and you say, you want to stay in bed today and watch Netflix. Or the weather's great and you want to hit the beach and go surfing for the day. And you can literally get your phone out, send a WhatsApp to the office and say, guys, you're not going to see me today. but you can do it guilt-free, knowing that the business is still going to be profitable and that your customers are still going to get a good experience. So synergy in our world is very often, when I get my clients to that point, it's usually the point where they start maybe taking a day off every week, sometimes where they start working mornings only, where you find that the guys are doing a good job, but you're still there, but you're not there all the time. Synergy is also sometimes the point where we hire a general manager or an operations manager or somebody to run the business for you to free you up to do other things. Results, which is the kind of pinnacle of this process. At results level, you know you're there if you not just take a day off every week, you can literally disappear for a month and there's no harm to the business. You get invited to go sailing in Cyprus for a month and you can just do it knowing that it's all in order, it's a systematized business and the right team are doing the work for you. A good indicator of results is if you walk through the door of the company and the receptionist looks up and says, "Hello ma'am, can I help you?" Not knowing that you're actually even the owner of the business. You're literally there to collect your dividend check or what have you. At results level, I really believe if you've got a business that's in that space, you've probably got a secret sauce that we should be bottling and franchising. Results level, is you can see there we use the words multiplication or acquisition. People at results level, they're buying new businesses and fixing businesses. They multiplying their business. They're opening new branches. They're opening new territories. They're franchising the business. At results level, that's very often where you're now doing other interests. You've got a business that's profitable and working without you to a degree, and you have passive income now. So at results level, now you can start looking at investment strategies, playing the property market, playing the Forex markets, whatever else it might be. Slowing down, getting ready for retirement. Maybe it's spending more time with the family. Maybe it's spending more time in the community. Plus, a lot of people that I work with, they now start freeing up time so they can do charity work and giving back into the community because they've got a business that's profitable and freeing up time for them. So it's different for different people. So that literally is the roadmap. That's what we call the 6 steps to massive results. And whether I am coaching you or you're working with a coach in Canada or Mexico or China, any action coach, certified coach will be working with you through this process. And obviously behind the scenes of all of these levels, there are tools and templates and processes that will take you through to help you learn those areas of business, but also helping you implement those areas. So it's a process that we take you through over time. So let's drill down on each of those in a little bit more detail. The first level, mastery. As I mentioned, mastery is our word for foundations. We want to make sure you've got a commercial business, a real business. Does it do what it says on the box? 4 areas to cover in mastery: destination, money, time, and delivery. And I'm going to drill down on each one of those for you now. So destination, first one. What is it that you're wanting to achieve? And it's one of the first things that we ask any business owner that we work with. What are the goals? What are the plans? What's the vision? What's the dream? What do you want your life to look like in 5, 10, 20 years time? Once we know what you want out of life, then we can say, what does the business need to look like to achieve that for you? Because remember, the business should be serving you. That's the business's job, is to deliver your life goals. So we need to first know what are your life goals. Then we can look at the business goals and make sure the business goals serve that. And then we can look at a plan. What does the business need to do to achieve that for you? So we start with the dreams, then with the goals, then there's the plan, and then we help you act against that plan and implement those goals. So what we do with you is what we call an alignment coaching process, getting business owners aligned with where they want to take this business. If any of you are partnerships, a lot of that process is getting the partners very clearly aligned with where they want to take this thing. And we've seen this firsthand. Business owners, we've got 2 partners in the business. One partner wants to open a national franchise and have a branch in every major city across the country, and the other partner wants to downsize and open a bait and tackle shop in Amanzimtoti. That's going to be a challenge, right? That business where you've got two partners wanting to pull in a total different direction. So part of that process we need to do is help come up with clear goals that serve the interests of both partners. And then obviously a plan getting inside there. So yeah, that alignment process, that's the very first thing that we do with every client. You work out where this can go, because it also gets the coach aligned. I want to know where you want to go, and I'm going to help you get there a heck of a lot faster. So that's where it's also getting us aligned, because remember, it's your business, it's your life. I want to know where you want to go. We will help you get there. So if anybody's not sure yet, and we often meet people like this, they're like, I'm not really sure exactly what I want here. And sometimes because we're not sure where we're going, that's why we find ourselves going in circles. So you're more than welcome, even if that's all you need from us, is just help with that alignment process. Let us know, and just like going to a chiropractor every now and then, get your back realigned. It's the same coming to a coach and just helping you get aligned and focused on where you need to go. Give us a shout, we can help you with that. But the importance of it, anybody on the call that maybe has done scuba diving at some point in their life, or you know somebody that does scuba diving, you'll know them say this a lot. Plan the dive, dive the plan. You don't get in the water unless you're really clear on exactly how long you're going to spend underwater, what are the currents looking like, how much air have you got, what's your bottom time. You've got complicated dive tables that tell you how long you can be. And it's critical you do that, because if you don't have a plan, you don't follow the plan as closely as possible, it can be a highly dangerous sport. People can get lost, people can get the bends, people can die. There's all sorts of stuff that can happen. So it's critical that there's a plan in place. The reality though is we find people that have a business and there's no plan at all. People spend more time planning their holiday, the sports tour, the soccer trip, the cycling race, the whatever it might be. There's plenty of time spent planning the holiday, but no time spent planning in the business. And people say, oh, well, it's different, you know. In scuba diving, somebody could die, but nobody's going to die if I don't have a plan in my business. But I'd like to challenge you on that, if that's your mindset, is, you know, how many people work for you? If you have a team of more than yourself, including yourself actually, how many breadwinners rely on the success of the business? If the business doesn't succeed, how many people aren't taking money home to the family? If the business shuts down, how many families lose a breadwinner? It is critical that there are clear goals and a clear plan in place for that business. So if you need some help on that, as I say, we do that alignment process. We have different planning products that we use with people. We also have a program called Growth Club. Every 3 months, so 4 times a year, we book a venue. We get a bunch of business owners together in the room and help them realign. Because yes, you want to start off with alignment to get clear, to get focused, but to use that analogy of a chiropractor doesn't mean you have an alignment once. Let's use a better analogy as your car. You have to have your wheels aligned with your car. You don't just do it once, you have to do it every 5 or 10 or 15,000 kilometers, depending on the kind of mileage and the kind of driving that you're doing. It's exactly the same in business. You have to realign regularly. And in our process, realignment is called Growth Club, where every 3 months, relook at the plan, relook at the goals, update them, track your progress, and reset that compass. And that's an amazing program. We get a bunch of great business owners together. They network, collaborate. So let me know if you're interested in knowing a little bit about that. Because we want to get into money mastery is another key area. We find too often this is the biggest cause of stress and health damage and relationship damage is often about money. You know, often business owners lie awake at night stressing over different things. Most challenges, you know, you can fix tomorrow or fix the next day, but financial stress has a huge impact on people. And very often we find that it's often just the not knowing. There's often people aren't even tracking the numbers, aren't clearly looking at the numbers, the financial figures. Are we tracking and collecting this information and looking at it regularly? And that's one of the advantages of having a coach is, you know, show me the money. We want to see in paper, black and white, what do the numbers look like? And because the businesses, remember, businesses don't speak English, businesses speak numbers. So we need to learn to speak numbers and be comfortable looking at the numbers regularly, because then we're going to understand real clarity. So often once we go through the process of really looking at the numbers, we find a lot of people find that it isn't actually, so people in high stress situations, once we get it all mapped out and get clarity on the numbers, it's often not as bad as people think. And then we can actually get on top of it and fix it. Other times it's even worse than people think, which is also fine, because at least we know, once you know what you're dealing with, you can actually make a plan to resolve it. But other businesses actually think that their numbers are fine and aren't looking at them. And when you drill down, we expose some real areas of risk and opportunity, and rather get forewarned that there's a problem with the financials than waiting too long and finding out too late. So we've got to get on top of the numbers, both the historic numbers as well as the future numbers. So very clear we want to work on with you is the idea of understanding your business dashboard. You want to be able to know at a glance how your business is doing, your KPIs or key performance indicators, and they're different in every business. Every business has got different key metrics to be looking at, but we want to see which are the keywords that are relevant for you. And in about 10 minutes time, I'm going to actually show you a key performance indicator dashboard that you can use in your business as well. So I'll show you some of the key numbers that's going to improve your profits by 61%. So we'll have some fun together around that. But we really got to get on top of the numbers. And I find, most of the business owners we've worked with over the last 11 years, I find some are highly financially literate and know their numbers inside out, and others just don't like numbers at all. I meet so many business owners out there, oh no, I don't do numbers, I don't do finance. It's usually those two extremes. There's a few that maybe are in the middle that kind of got a rough sort of knowledge, but in business we've got to get on top of the numbers. Now, I'm not saying you need to become an expert at finance. If you're one of the people that don't enjoy numbers, you don't have to become an accountant. You haven't. That's why you surround yourself with a support team. You have a good accountant, and if you don't, make sure you do. If you don't have a good accountant, look at your numbers regularly. We've got some great accountants that we do a lot of close work with, so let me know if you need somebody. But you don't need to get to that level, but you do need to have a good, solid, basic understanding of the numbers, so you can interrogate the numbers with your accountant. When your accountant gives you good numbers or gives you numbers and feedback, you want to understand what they are telling you. And that's often the role that we play as coaches, is often we're that bridge between clients and accountants, is making sure that we are meeting regularly and looking at the numbers. And sometimes the coach has to serve as a sort of translator between what the accountant is feeding back to the business owner and what the business owner needs to know. So we need to look at those numbers. Two things: budget and report. So budget, yeah, we're driving a car, we need a big windscreen to look through to see where we're going. That's your budget. Have we mapped out the coming year and mapped out the figures? What are our expenses going to be? Roughly what sort of income do we think we can expect? What will be our cost of sales? Really getting a good snapshot of what this year should look like, so we can prepare. What are the cash needs for the business? On top of that, though, when we're driving a car, we don't just look through the windscreen. We also need to look at the rear view mirror to look backwards to see where we've been. That's our reporting. So we want to be looking at last week's figures, last month's income statement, last year's management accounts, our income statement, our balance sheet, cash flow for the business. So we need to be looking forward as well as backwards, but be clear around it. We find some people, where the windscreen is this big, the rear view mirror is that big. We meet a lot of people that only look at the financials, that only look in the rearview mirror, and all they're looking at is last year's or last month's figures, never looking forward. Other people only looking forward, never looking backwards. You need to use both of those when you're driving a car, but importantly, you also need that dashboard where just while you're driving, at a glance, you can look down and see, are you within the speed limit? How much petrol is in the tank? Are there any warning lights? Are we overheating? You want to be able to have that at a glance. So while you're running your business and doing the million other things you need to do as a business owner, you do just have a good indicator that our metrics are in place. One of the first things we want to look at, and if you don't know it yet, have a look at it, is just double check your break-even point. And for those of you not sure on break-even literally is, what is your sales target? What rand figures do you need to invoice it might be every day, it might be every week, at least every month we should know what is our monthly break-even target. And literally, what are the sales that we need to achieve to cover our total costs? So this graph puts it up really nicely. Here you can see the blue graph is our revenue or our sales figure. And you can see obviously at the start of the month, this business starts at 0. And as the month progresses, we start closing more business and sending out more invoices. The red line is our fixed costs, which is obviously our overheads, our salaries, our rent bill, electricity, water, all that other stuff, those telephone bills, those costs, our subscriptions, our licenses for software that we use. Generally, those costs we've got to pay every month, those fixed costs. But importantly, remember the purple line, which is our cost of sales, our variable costs, the costs associated with making those sales, the raw materials, the supplier costs, whatever it might be. So you'll see the yellow line is the total costs of fixed costs and variable costs combined. And break even literally is that point where your total costs and your revenue intersect. So this business, you can see here, breaks even on roughly the 15th of every month. So you might ask, is that a good break even? Is that a bad break even? And that obviously depends. We should be looking at this business historically and saying, what is its historical break even? We could look at trends, and you can engage your accountant for this as well. What is typical for an industry, in our sort of industry? What is typical for break even? What are the typical margins that we should be expecting inside this industry? If we're not tracking our own trends in terms of what our own key metrics, and then looking at what the industry trend, we might be ahead of the industry averages, we might be behind. But if you had to guess, when do most businesses break even? I imagine you'd be right. It's probably midnight on the 31st of every month. And imagine that, a business that only breaks even at the last day of the month. That means for every single day of the month, the owner or owners of the business have to live in that space of stress. Like, are we going to make enough money this month just to cover our costs? So the idea behind it is to map out what is your break even. Because if you look there, the green line there, which is your net profit, remember that this business starts off every month in a loss position, and we are making a loss every day until that break-even day, until that break-even point. So as you can see on day 15, there's not even any profit. All they're doing is just covering that. So we need to measure what that number is, and we need to be putting strategies in place to move that break-even target left. The sooner every month we can break even, because every day after break even, every sale after break even, that goes straight to your bottom line. There's your profit sitting right there. So we want to have a target. We want to know what that number is. Importantly, we don't want to just chase that target, because as human beings, we often set a target and come just short of target. And if you come just short of break even, you end up in a loss position, and we don't want to be there, because that means next month you have to do even extra to A, break even and get profit for this month, but also to recover the loss from the month before. But profit is what grows the business. So some of you might have up on your wall, you might have a sales barometer with a target we're tracking. Double check that against your break-even target. Make sure you're not just chasing you and your team, you're not just chasing a break-even target. We want to be chasing a profit break-even target. So even if we don't hit the profit target, at very least we're breaking even and not going backwards. So if you need some help with working this, let me know. We find very often a lot of people we meet know the idea of break-even. I'll ask people, what is their break-even number? They give me the number. We double check the figure, and very often people have the wrong figure in mind and are chasing the wrong number. Often they're chasing too small a target. We find too many businesses aren't calculating their numbers right, aren't working out their true gross margin percentage. And if you're working on the wrong gross margin percentage, it undercuts the number quite substantially. So we find people that say, oh, we've got a break-even target of, let's say, 500,000 Rand a month. And if they're getting the number wrong, they're not getting it wrong by a couple of thousand Rand. They're getting it wrong by, the actual break-even might be 700,000 Rand, for instance. So that's why we have businesses that go a whole year thinking that they're on track. They're hitting a target, but people have captured the wrong target, chasing the wrong target, and come the end of the year, where every month people have been giving themselves a pat on the back saying, awesome, we hit our target, we hit our target. Come the end of the year, we get the annual financials and there's been a loss. And they say, but how can that be? I hit my targets, but they've been chasing the wrong targets. So break even, you should be recalculating regularly. Do it every year. Ideally, refresh your break even calculation every 3 months. Where we at now with lockdown and coming out of that, businesses have come out of this totally different. So you should definitely be doing it right now, or recalculating it every month or so, just to see what has been the impact of all the changes, because I'll guarantee that everybody on the business on this call, your business has all been impacted differently. So we really want to be double testing that break-even target regularly. Have your accountant double check it, and as I say, give me a shout if you'd like some help in that space. The other key area of mastery is time mastery. It's the most scarce resource we have available to us. There's only so many hours in a day, and too often we find people are just busy doing the wrong things all day. We're doing our low value, low priority things. And come the end of the day, we've done all sorts of things. People get home and say, man, what a day. I've been crazy busy. And your husband or your wife says to you, wow, what did you do? And if you've ever had a day like this, and you look back, you think, wow, I can't actually even say anything substantial I've done today. Time has just been sucked into all these different things. So it's critical we know what are our important activities. Are we getting our invoices out for work that's been completed to date? Are we focusing on debt collection and actually getting the money in? Are we provisioning, doing the job that people are paying us for? Are we knowing our numbers? What are the activities that generate profit, the activities that generate cash flow? Or are we just doing stuff? So Stephen Covey teaches us so well, the amazing book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The way he teaches that every day we're busy, we're doing different things, and every activity falls into one of these 4 bands. We often spend our time on the zone of distraction, doing things that are not urgent and equally not important. And you know the idea, people sitting in the next to the coffee machine gossiping about the weekend. How often do people get online and suddenly there's a ping or a flashing note or something, and people end up surfing the internet or surfing social media. People lose 10, 20 minutes, 3 hours messing around on Facebook or whatever it might be, doing stuff that's not serving any value whatsoever. So we've got to watch out for that, the zone of distraction. How many people have been pulled into that over lockdown? Business owners that are sitting at midday watching Netflix and working hours. People have team members that are sitting at home doing gardening and working hours while they're earning a salary. So are we sure that people are using their time productively? Other times we're doing things that are urgent but not important. There's so many distractions, so many things that are pulling our attention nowadays. A ringing phone, a ping off a WhatsApp message, a ping off an email, an SMS, a knock on the door. It's urgent, there's something pulling your attention, but you don't know if it's important or not until you let that distraction into your life. And sometimes it's things that's important for somebody else, not important for your business. So we get pulled into a million things that are not important for our business. So we need to really get good at ring fencing our time to make sure that our time is spent in positive cash flow and positive profit growth activities. Because we also need to know that there's the zone of demand. There are going to be things every day that you didn't expect that you have to cater for. Because how often do we have is you plan your perfect day and you've got your action list of the amazing things you want to get done today. And you get to work, you do your list, you make a cup of coffee, and next thing is we have load shedding. We have one of your top clients comes for a surprise visit. You can't just say, sorry, Mr. Client, I'm doing my bookkeeping today, or sorry, Mr. Client, I'm updating my business plan today. You have to drop what you're doing and take care of that client. A key member of staff doesn't come to work. A customer complaint comes in. That's the zone of demand. We need to understand it's important because we've got to take care of that customer, and it's urgent. If we don't take care of it now, we're going to lose their business forever. So understand that those things will surprise us. So we need to have allowance in our diary. And that's one of the key things a lot of people do, is they don't allow for demand. They assume that every hour in the day will follow the plan. He's going to have the plan, but these things are going to happen. But too often we're letting not important things invade our diary and not budgeting for this. So we need to have, we call it the zone of not urgent, not important, important, but not urgent. So the important things, we need to do them before they become urgent. And what are the important things? The important things are planning, goal setting, education, training yourself, training your team. Those things are important, but too often because they're not urgent, we don't do them. And we only do them when they become urgent. You know, we don't put time for training, but then suddenly we start getting lots of customer complaints. We start losing good clients. Now we go, oh my gosh, now I'm going to do training because it's now become urgent. Looking at the financials. When things are going fine, we don't look at the financials because everything's fine. But suddenly we get hit by a cash flow crisis. Now we're going to look at the financials. If we were looking at them regularly before the crisis would not have happened. So we want to look at those strategies where we do the important things before they become urgent. And are you blocking time inside your diary to do that stuff? And that's what we help people with. Engaging a coach is one of the first steps inside that. What we do with our clients is our clients get a default calendar of appointments. So some of my clients I see every week. Some clients come to a bi-weekly coaching sessions. Some clients come to our group education, our group mentorship programs. Those get anchored in the diary because all of us know, and I guarantee all of you on the call, you're on this call, which tells me the answer to the question is that you know you need to invest in yourself. We know we need to make time to learn, to read books, to do courses, to learn better ways of business. That's why you're here, right? But we too often don't put time aside. We do it kind of ad hoc when we get the chance. But the idea is if we're locking that time away in advance, by default, that we do those activities. So it's learning and coaching, it's financial analysis, marketing. Are we doing marketing before it becomes urgent? That's where we need to invest that time. And the idea behind it is the more time we spend working in that zone of the important stuff before it gets urgent, the less time we need to spend in any of those other areas. But it starts with putting some time in your diary to do that. So give me a shout if I can help you in that space. The key thing is working on the business. But we're finding people out there spending all their time in the business, and they're wondering why we own a job and we don't own a business because we aren't investing the time in the right space. So the fourth area that we want to look at is delivery mastery. So what have we covered? We've covered destination mastery, money mastery, time mastery. Delivery mastery is all about making sure our customers all get a consistent experience. The example I've given you here is one Michael Gerber talks about a lot, is the story he gives is he has his favorite hairdresser or barbershop, and every month he goes for a haircut. It's a great little barbershop. He walks in the door, and the lady behind the front desk always looks up with a big smile, and there's a funny greeting that she gives him that always puts a smile on his face. And he sits down for his haircut, they give him a cup of coffee, and while he's there, they refill his coffee as often as he needs. And that's his favorite shop, and he's been going for years for this haircut. Now one day, he goes for a haircut, he walks in the front door, and the regular lady is not there. Somebody else is sitting at the front desk, and she kind of looks up and shows him. He doesn't get the smile, he doesn't get the little quirky script or joke that she usually says. He sits down for his haircut and they don't offer him a cup of coffee. But he gets exactly the same haircut. You can feel what's just happened there, right? It's happened to all of us. They took something away. They found out just how he likes things, and then they took it away. So next month he needed a haircut again. What did he do? And you'll know the answer. Instead of turning left, he turned right and he tried out a different barber in the other direction. And we do this, we find business owners are doing this all the time. We get our customers, they like what we do, they come back a second or third time, and they don't do it the way we did it before, and we chase them away. So think about those businesses out there that have, what are they good at, what do they stand for? Make sure it happens again and again, because consistency is that core of your business. Think of a South African example, a restaurant like Spur. Imagine going to Spur and there's no playground for the kids and there's no clown painting the faces. You're not going to take your kids there again and again. It's the same as so many different organizations. How do you like it? Find what that is and do it again and again and again. Consistency, that's your foundation. I've used the example here of McDonald's. If I had to ask you, do they make the best hamburger in the world? I think I'd get all sorts of different answers. But generally, nobody says that they make the best hamburger in the world. But if that's the case, why have they grown the biggest hamburger chain in the world? Because they found out what works. A good priced burger that they can deliver fast and consistently and conveniently, and they can do it again and again and again. And that's why people anywhere in the world, if you're looking for a quick, efficient meal, I recall we were, years ago, we were on conference in Beijing in China, and a bunch of us had been doing some sightseeing. And obviously you eat the local cuisine and you eat at the hotels and what have you. And one day we came out of a subway, it was downtown Beijing, came out of a subway station and looked up and there were the golden arches. And two of the people in our team, as colleagues of mine, very fitness, health conscious people, they looked up and they said, Mickey D's, and like everybody, people that wouldn't even eat McDonald's back in South Africa went running into McDonald's because they know that they knew what they were going to get. You know there's going to be a Big Mac and what have you. So find out what you're good at and do it again and again and again. So those are your foundation areas, what we call mastery. Now, some businesses we work with, we spend about a month in that space and the foundations are really good. Actually, great. Let's go to the next level. Other businesses spend 6 months just on foundations, so everybody's in a different space. By the way, I'm teaching this in a linear fashion, but in reality, you're kind of working on all these areas relatively simultaneously, but you want to make sure you don't get too far ahead of yourself. So we use a system where you actually audit your business and you actually get a percentage score at each area. So you can actually know with confidence how good your foundations are before you move into the next phase. You know how good your niche score is before you move into leverage, etc., etc. And you re-audit the business every 3 months. It's actually quite fun, where you can actually consciously see your score improve over time. So we've got a commercial business, and we now want to make sure you have a profitable business. A couple of reasons. Obviously, well, one of the reasons we look at profits fast is, we obviously we want to help as many businesses as possible. We don't do it for free, sadly. We commercial business, just like anywhere else, we charge. And we do some non-profit and pro bono coaching as well. And by the way, we have a program called Coaching for a Cause, where we every now and then take on a non-profit client and coach them at no charge. We're going to be restarting the Coaching for a Cause program, actually in the process of actually looking for our next non-profit to coach. So if you know any good non-profits that might need coaching, let us know. But most of our clients are very good businesses, and obviously we help them grow their profits and we charge as well. Majority of the people we meet out there haven't engaged a coach before, and often get a bit surprised when they see the fee involved. But we've got all sorts of programs. We have clients on retainers for as low as a couple of 2,000, 3,000 Rand a month, right up to 5,000 to 10,000 to 15 to 20,000 plus Rand a month retainers. So there's high level intensive coaching at the sort of 15, 20,000 Rand per month retainer. But that's obviously where people want intensive coaching, and we're coaching the whole team and all sorts. Other people just want entry-level coaching. That's where we've got our group coaching, our education programs, things like that. But there's obviously investment involved in coaching. We also do one-off work like books and videos and helping people build a business plan and team training and things like that, where people just need us for one intervention. The majority of our clients get on a retainer and work with us over time, because it's over time that you build a business. You don't just you don't go to one gym session and suddenly you've got a six-pack and bulging biceps. It's the same with building a business. You've got to go see your coach regularly and you get it over time. But it's critical for us. We always want to see a return on investment. So there's a lot of great value that happens in coaching. And those of you that know us, you'll know a lot of our clients, some of the amazing success stories that we've had over the years of businesses that have doubled, tripled, quadrupled their profits, grown national businesses out of little startup businesses that have grown into some amazing success stories. So there is an investment in that space. So it's also why we want to track the numbers. We want to consciously see that there's a return on investment, because there's a lot of feel-good stuff, let's call it, that comes out of coaching. The knowledge, the attitude, the change in the team dynamic is amazing. But at the end of the day, there's got to be a bottom line value of coaching. There has to be a return on investment. So if somebody's investing $1,000 a month on coaching, their profits should be going up by $2,000 a month, or whatever the ratio is. There needs to be a tangible, visible return on investments. That's why we want to look at the numbers regularly with you. We want to look at not just your financials, we want to look at your marketing numbers. And this is a concept I just want to share with you here. We call it marketing leverage, or we also call it the business chassis. Anybody that knows cars will know that a lot of cars look very different on the outside, but if you take away the bodywork, you take away the seats, you take away the engine, and you get right down to the chassis, you'll find it's the very same chassis. Now, the example I've given here is Volkswagen and Audi, very different cars on the outside, but they share a chassis. Actually, Porsche, a lot of Porsches share the same chassis as Volkswagen and Audis do. The very first Porsche was a carbon gear, which was built on the chassis of a Volkswagen Beetle. So Ferdinand Porsche, who worked for Volkswagen, took an old VW, trimmed it down to the chassis, and then rebuilt the car on that same chassis. And very different car on the outside. So what we want to do is show you how to look at your business and how do you take away all the noise, take away the badge and the leather seats, and let's trim down to the core essentials of your business, and then show you how to rebuild a very different car. But you've got to trim it down to the chassis to understand first the reality of what you're looking at here. Here's a lovely example I found online a while ago. This lady in the UK, she bought this old Volkswagen Beetle at a scrapyard, paid £200 for it, stripped it down, rebuilt it, and sold it for £25,000. So if that sounds good to you, think of your own business. Let's take your business, let's trim it down to its bare essentials, let's really understand the working mechanisms, and then start rebuilding the business into something totally different. So the first thing I mentioned earlier, businesses don't speak English. We want to take away emotions. We want to talk numbers. We want to see what are the numbers showing us. I want people saying, you've asked somebody, say, how was last month? And people say it was a good month or a bad month. I don't want to hear good month or a bad month. I want to say, well, was it on budget or not on budget? Did you hit your goals or not? We need to say, what do the numbers tell us? Because very often the numbers tell us something very different to the emotion, okay? So if I asked any of you, how many customers did you work with, let's say last month, you could tell me. If I asked you what was your revenue or your sales, you could probably tell me. And if I asked you what were your profits, you could tell me. Last week, last month, last year. If you didn't know offhand, you could probably go to a little black book, to an Excel spreadsheet, to your bookkeeping software, or you could phone up your bookkeeper or an accountant, and you could answer those questions for me. But as it says here, these are results. Those are outcomes. Those are things that come after an equals sign. If I asked you why you had those results, chances are you wouldn't be able to tell me, and most business owners we check with. So this is what a chassis looks like. The 3 areas are those results that come after an equals sign. We want to look at the 5 ways. I've highlighted them here in blue. Are you measuring every month how many leads, how many human beings engaged with you, with your staff, how many people walked in your store, how many requests for quotation did you receive last month? And are you tracking that? Are you counting how many leads you got? So that tells us how good you are at marketing. We also want to know, what was your conversion rate? Now, you can't know that if you aren't tracking how many customers. So you see, if we know how many customers actually bought from you, then you can divide that by number of leads times by 100, and now you know your conversion rate. So you see how important it is to look at this, because they're 2 different things. I mentioned that number of leads tells us how good your marketing is. Conversion rate will tell us how good you are at sales. And we find this is an important distinction, because we find some business owners out there are great at marketing, great at lead generation, but they've got a terrible conversion rate, which means they're not good at sales. So we need to work in that space. Other people have got an amazingly high conversion rate. They're great salespeople, but are rubbish at lead generation. So it tells us where we need to focus early on. So you see, that's the first important breakdown, because marketing and sales in a big corporate, there's different people doing each job. You've got professional marketing people generating leads, and you've got professional salespeople converting the leads. In a small, medium-sized business, sometimes it's the same people doing the marketing and the sales. So by breaking these numbers down, and I'll teach you how to do this if you need help in this space, you can start to see where's your strength area and where's your weakness. So now we know this business last month had 1,000 customers. Some of them bought once. Some of those customers came back 2 or 3 or 4 times. So you can see here the average number of transactions last month was 2 on average. Again, some people spent maybe $50, some maybe $200. The average dollar sale, average rand sale, average pound, average euro sale, whatever currency you work in, the average spend was 100 for the month. So 1,000 times by 2 times 100. Now we know why this business had revenues of $200,000. Okay, we've got our outcome. Lastly, yes, we want to measure the revenue. Revenue is important, but we also want to look at margins. This business generated revenues of $200,000, but they had a margin of 25%, and they were left with $50,000. So you get the idea. It's so important. Yes, we need to be measuring turnover. But remember, and you've heard that saying, turnover is vanity, right? Sanity is, or reality is your profit. How much of that did you get to keep? So this business had a 25% margin. So obviously 75% went to their costs. They got to keep $50,000. That's the important number. Now, you could obviously go a level down. So some people would say, what are my gross margins? What's my gross profit? Then take down your net margin and get your net profit. For this example, we just keep it simple, just the way we teach it. Obviously, when we're coaching you on this stuff, we break down gross versus net margins as well, but keeping it simple right here. So once you know your 5 ways numbers, and the way we do it with people, there's a simple spreadsheet that we get our clients using where we chuck other data in and you spit this out so you can actually see your quarterly 5 ways numbers. You can start tracking your monthly 5 ways numbers. We have businesses that look at their weekly, daily 5 ways numbers, because once you know what you're dealing with, we can now start improving those numbers. And the way we coach people is we teach people strategies to improve each of those 5 areas. As you can see here, we've identified 73 different strategies to improve to get more leads, 84 strategies to improve your conversion rates, 70 strategies to get your customers coming back more often, 52 strategies to improve average rand or average dollar sale, and 67 strategies to improve your margins. So you get the idea. This is why coaching and mentorship is usually over time, because we've got to help firstly at tracking the numbers. Then we teach the strategies to improve them. Some strategies work, some strategies don't. So this is a constant process of always trying new things. At my job, I see my clients every week or every second week. Some clients I see once a month. My job is to say, what have you done to improve your business since I saw you last? What new strategies have you implemented? Are they working? Are they not working? And then we start doing running repairs and improving those strategies all the time. So imagine now that same example. So here's this business that was generating profits of $50,000. We're tracking the numbers. We've got the system in place to track it. We start implementing strategies. Now, you might just work on isolated areas, but imagine over the course of a year, we implement strategies in each of those 5 areas. And we set a target, imagine just a 10% improvement in each area. Now that's quite doable, usually with your existing resource, with your existing team, with your existing number of vehicles, existing premises, whatever it might be. So implement, what were there, 76 different strategies for lead generation. So 10% is just an extra 400 leads per month. Doing more advertising, increasing your Google spend, fine-tuning the messaging in your advert, getting out to more networking meetings, branding your vehicles, whatever those different things we can do to get 400 more leads per month. But at the same time, we don't just get more leads, we put systems in place or strategies in place to improve conversion rates. Looking at a unique selling proposition, a guarantee system in place. Are we using scripts inside the business? Are you revisiting your branding, the quality of your website, your LinkedIn page? So looking at your sales collateral, simple things like that. Sales training. If any of you haven't done any sales training, that's an important place to start. If you have a team of people, when last did you do sales training with your team? Or are they just being sent out into the wild with a box of business cards and let's hope what happens? So give us a shout. We do a lot in that space of sales training too. And obviously with COVID now, where we used to do sales training, we'll do all sorts of training. We get people in a room together. Yes, we at lockdown level where we act now is we're able to do face-to-face training, and for those that need us, we are meeting face-to-face that need us. Majority of our work though is still with some clients that are high risk and are keeping very quarantined, other clients that are geographically far away, so we're coaching online. But lately we've even been doing a lot of sales training and all sorts of training online. So people with teams, and we're training their teams in very diverse geographic areas. So just because we're in lockdown doesn't mean you can't do training with your teams. And sales training is a critical one. People are having to learn whole new ways of selling now in the virtual world, or I think a lot of you are probably also in that sort of space hybrid, you know, where you're partially virtual, partially face-to-face. But look what happens here. 10% more customers, compounding against 10% improvement in conversion rate gets you 20%, 21% more customers. It's that amazing thing called compound interest. Percentages, little percentage improvements play off against each other, and we get 21% more customers. At the same time, we start implementing strategies, number of transaction strategies to get our customers coming back more often. Are you maintaining a database? Are you getting in touch with your clients more regularly? Are you connecting with your clients online on social media or on LinkedIn, whatever it might be? Are you doing events with your clients? If you're keeping a database of your clients, are you getting in touch with them on maybe a monthly or a bi-monthly newsletter, sending out special offers, special deals, getting them back to you more regularly? What are the strategies you can do to get them coming back more regularly? On top of that, when people buy from you, are you making sure they spend a little more each and every time? Average dollar sale strategies. We spoke about McDonald's earlier. McDonald's are the wizards at this. Anybody that's gone to McDonald's, you'll know this. You buy a hamburger, you get out your wallet or your credit card and you order a Big Mac or whatever it is. Before they take your credit card, they'll ask you that magic question. Would you like fries with that? Can I supersize you? Can I upsize you? And how many billions of dollars has McDonald's organization made by asking that question? And they don't just ask it every now and then, they ask it each and every time. So I'll guarantee that every single one of you have got a McDonald's question, a supersize question that you could be asking your clients. Now, an upsize, supersize question, that's just one strategy on average dollar sale. There's a million different strategies that we can, 60 odd strategies that you can use there on making sure that we upsell each and every time. But we need to experiment with these strategies, test them, fine-tune them until we find the recipe that works consistently, just like McDonald's has. But look what happens here. 10% in those 4 areas gets you 46% more turnover, or more revenue, compounding interest. On top of that, we're not just growing sales, because too often businesses are only looking at revenue. And as sales grow, they're not tracking their margins. And often we've seen businesses grow sales but drop profits. So we need to be really matching this as well, making sure we maintain our margins, but also we want to grow that percentage. So again, a 10% improvement in margins, and look what happens here. That business goes from a $50,000 per month business to an $80,000 per month business. That's a 61% improvement in margin and profits by looking at little 10% improvements in each of those areas. Sound good? So whatever your numbers are, work out your 5 ways numbers. As I say, I can help you with pleasure. I'll mention it later, but we have a standing offer. If you're on the call, let us know, and you want to reach out. We offer a free coaching session to business owners. So if you're an established business and up and running, and you think you might need some help in a certain area, book a session with us. We offer a free consult. You might want to drill down on one specific area. So it might be if you need my help measuring these numbers, you might need some help on your goals or your plans or what have you, book a session with us. At the same time, you know, we can also show you more about the different programs. You might be interested in coaching, you might not. So reach out if you'd like to sit down with us. But whatever your current numbers are, your current 5 ways numbers, imagine in a year's time, you can improve each of those numbers by 10%. Your profit is going to go up by 61%. So take last month's profit, take last year's profit, add 61% on it, and see what that new number is. Will that at very least recover a coaching investment, and then obviously make a substantial profit for you on top of that? If you made a loss last month or a loss last year, please do not put a 61% increase on that. What we'd want to make sure that if you're already making a loss, then we really need to look at those the foundation area, that mastery level of the business, and we need to just double check the wiring of your numbers. We need to look at your financial reporting and make sure you're reporting properly. We need to look at the pricing and how you're pricing your products and service. We find a lot of businesses, I'm seeing this a lot lately, are selling the wrong products. Every business has a mix of different products, and each product has a different profit margin. And how often we've found this where business owners are selling the wrong product. We're tricking ourselves, we're getting lots of turnover, selling the low profit, or sometimes people even selling the zero profit stuff. Or we've got sales teams, and so the sales people haven't been trained up on this, and sales teams are out there selling great revenue figures, great sales volumes, but they're selling the low margin stuff, or very often selling the no margin stuff. And as we grow sales, we're increasing our loss position. So we really need to double check the numbering of the books and spend some time with it. But how does that sound? 61%. And I mentioned, we've got to have a goal. That extra profit, where's it going to go? If we're clear on where it's going to go, then we can actually do the work involved. So it's about the personal goals, the vision, the dreams. So some of us, there might be a goal to buy a new car. These I actually put there for a bit of fun. The G-Wagon is on my son's dream chart, and the Cobra is on mine. So, so some people, there might be a goal on something physical that you'd like to acquire. Other people, it's not about cars and gadgets and watches. Other people, it's about the holidays or the places that they want to visit if you free up the time and make enough money to do it. We've met a lot of business owners over the years that have said, listen, I'm not worried about profit, and I'm perfectly profitable. I've got a great business, but I'm just working too hard. Please, can we work on time management? And I want to start getting home before it's dark, because a dog barks at me when I get home. So we want to say, well, there might be a time goal to say, well, where would we spend that time? Who are the people that we would like to spend that time with? So we've got to have clear goals that inspire us to do the work that's going to give us that business that achieves what we want out of it. But it's clear we want to be growing. But the 5 ways is a great one to be focusing on. So as I mentioned, lots of different strategies on lead generation. I've highlighted some that work really well. Bottom right there, you'll see test and measure. The amount of businesses we see that just when we start measuring these numbers, they often start getting better on their own, because now we're focused around there. Referral systems, are you asking your customers for referrals regularly? The drill, if every one of your customers gave you a new customer, you've doubled your business right there. But you often find people aren't asking for referrals, or they're asking badly, and I will teach you some amazing ways of getting referrals. We've grown our business on referrals. Over 70% of our customers have come through referrals from existing customers tell other people about us. So if you want some help in that space. Conversion rates. Have you looked at a guarantee system? Better targeting. Are we really clear on who your ideal customer is and getting out there and chasing those? Have you surveyed? You'll see on the right-hand column, they're surveying your past customers. Have you gone back to all your old customers and say, by the way, what made you deal with us? What was that magic? Well, what made that decision? And then mention that in your marketing. This is why people use us, and get out to your potential customers and say, this is why you should use us. It's not often what you think it is. Number of transactions. So I mentioned database. Yes, if you're not keeping a database, that's the very first thing you should start with. Not just an Excel spreadsheet anymore. We need a proper computerized CRM system, a customer relationship manager software. There's some great ones that we can recommend on to you. That's some of the biggest wins, that you've got to have that database of people so you can get them coming back more often. Two of the ones that I've highlighted here, a multiple purchase card. These are great, and they work in so many industries. The corner coffee shop, you get a little card, and every time you buy every time you eat there, they stamp your card, and once you've eaten there 9 times, they give you a free cup of coffee. The corner car wash, 9 times or 10 times you have a car wash, you get your 11th car wash free. That can work in so many different industries. You'd be astonished, and get people coming back more often. I've highlighted probably gold in this space is a reminder system, like when you go to the dentist. You finish your appointment, you pay the bill, and the receptionist gets out the diary and she books your next dental appointment in 6 months' time. And she even writes it on a business card and you stick it in your pocket. Are you doing that with each and every customer that you meet? Are you booking their next appointment so that it's in, and then you send them a calendar invite? Nowadays it's so easy. We've got Outlook calendars, Google calendars, whatever it might be. You can actually send them a calendar invite that they accept, and then automatically you're in their diaries. It's even easier now than it used to be to get your customers coming back, but we're not doing the stuff that does it. So have a look at the stuff. What can you do to get your customers coming back more often? You also want to be increasing your average rand or your average dollar sale. I mentioned the magic one is obviously McDonald's. Can I supersize you? Can I upsize you? But there's lots of amazing strategies that you can use there. Package deals are a great one. You know, bundled products. Go to Clicks and there's a shampoo for 100 Rand and a conditioner for 100 Rand. If you bundle them both together, it's 180 Rand. So you never discount the first product, but if they take the extra product, you get to fill that basket. So there's lots of strategies around there that you can use. Margins, man, are you reviewing your pricing regularly? Are you increasing your pricing regularly? Now, some of you might be in a business that's very clear on your margins and you're doing regular price updates. Anybody interviewing or anything like that, you would be doing this regularly. But are you, at very least every year, especially service businesses often do not increase their prices as often as they should, and they get themselves in trouble on that side. So are you reviewing your pricing regularly? I've said you change accountants. I'm not saying you must automatically change accountants, but if you don't have an accountant, find a good one. If you've got an accountant that's not serving you well, find a good one, because accountants will make your life amazing. A good accountant that you sit with and review your numbers regularly can really just change your life. And I just have to pick up something here. Just excuse me 1 second. I'm right here. Okay, so strategies in this space, margins are the areas there. So now I showed you what would happen if you did a 10% improvement in each of those areas. Now, what would happen if you doubled each of those 5 areas? Now, those are just for a bit of fun. But have a look here, doubling leads, doubling conversion rate, doubling your number of transactions, doubling your average spend. And look what happens here. A $50,000 business becomes a $1.6 million profit business. Now, I've never seen a business double all 5 areas. We've seen businesses double isolated areas. We've seen businesses double, triple, quadruple profits. But we just kind of put this up here just to have a bit of fun, to say what is actually possible. And actually, I would love to one day see a business double all 5. But doubling just isolated ones, that's perfectly good. You're going to see some amazing stuff. But it's never going to happen if we don't measure the numbers, if we don't start tracking them regularly, we start managing these numbers and implementing the strategies that's going to improve each of them. That's when we're going to have a lot of fun inside the business. And I love this quotation. We all know Warren Buffett, this amazing success story. And it is not necessary to do, you don't have to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. It's little things consistently over time. And just like he uses this in his investment strategy, a while ago he fell off the top 10 list, and we double checked just the other day in March. Actually, I went back and double checked, and he's bounced right back up there in the top 10. As at March, he was back at 4th place, and his net worth back up to $69 billion. So it's those little things. So just like his investment strategies, little percentage gains consistently over time, you can do exactly the same thing in your business, in your marketing machine. So coming back to our 6 steps framework, notice the blocks get smaller. That's deliberate. The hard work is getting the foundations right, then really getting a marketing machine that works. It's just like building a house. You know, when you watch a house get built, you don't see anything for a long time, especially foundation stage. They're measuring, and you'll just see an empty piece of land. And then the architects arrive and they start putting stakes up and pins in the ground, and eventually they start digging and pouring foundations, and then gradually the walls start going up. But you'll notice for the construction site, suddenly you drive past and they're already painting. You know, then it suddenly goes a lot quicker. It's the slow stuff down the bottom that makes it so much easier later. Getting the foundations right makes the rest of the work a lot easier. So we really want to now get into leverage. We've got a business that's commercial business, we've got a profitable business. We now want to get a business that works. So we use the word leverage as basically leveraging yourself out of the business. Also, leverage is that idea of what's an easy way of doing things. Do the work once, get paid for it forever. And that's why we talk about having a system. Systems should run the business. And then the human being's job is just to follow the system or manage the systems. So we save ourselves time, energy, and money. And there's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, especially we find business owners that have come from a bigger corporate, possibly business that's highly systematized. When people start their own business and think, well, I don't need the systems anymore, I'm a small business. And then we go back into small business mentality. And even a good small business grows to a point without the systems in place, it never makes that leap to the next level up. So saving you time, energy, and money. So how do we do that? This is the higher level stuff. I work with a lot of businesses in this space. If you're a bigger, more established business, we often have guys that come to us where the foundations are in place, they're profitable, they've got a marketing machine that's working, but they're now wanting to expand, they're wanting to set their systems. As I mentioned, businesses that are wanting to franchise, this is a process I take businesses through. So the bigger, more established businesses, either we've grown them to that level or businesses that are already at that level ready to expand. Here are the steps I would be taking you through. Have you documented your vision, your mission, your culture? The vision, where are you going? What do you want this company to look like in 10, 20, 100 years' time? What's the dent you're going to make on the universe? Have you documented it? And is it real? Does it resonate? I mentioned without. So world abundance through business re-education. That's Action Coach's vision statement. Whether we'll see it in my lifetime, I'm not sure. It might be 100 years from now, but we're doing what we can to contribute to that. The mission is how we're going to get there. Your mission statement is, have you documented what are the products and services that you're going to offer? What are the kind of customers that you want to work with? What are the kind of staff you want to hire? And what makes you different? What makes you unique? What makes you special? Your uniqueness, your secret sauce. Have you documented that inside your mission statement? The third thing to look at, your culture statement, your values. What's the kind of behavior that's acceptable in this business? What's not acceptable? And this is a challenge for a lot of businesses that don't make that next leap. There's culture, and culture drives business. You've heard that saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And but we need to document that, because it's easy to manage culture when you're 5, 10, 20 people in one office. But now you go from 20 people to 100 people in multiple offices, and now suddenly each branch starts evolving its own culture. And then you go from 100 people to 5,000 people or whatever it is. And then the culture that made the business so strong as a small team gets lost as it gets diluted. So we want to early on document that culture and then take steps to make sure it's real, make sure it resonates, make sure people live and breathe that culture. In Action Coach globally, we have what we call our 14 points of culture that we live and breathe, and we get challenged on our points of culture regularly. And it's a lovely part of the fabric of our business. So vision, mission, culture. Have we then defined clear goals, long-term, short-term, medium-term, short-term, your 3-year goals, your 2-year goals, 1-year goals, your quarterly goals? Are they smart, tested, specific, measurable, achievable, results-bound and time-bound goals? Are they just, you don't want to have a goal that just says we want to increase revenue. Well, increase revenue to how, from what, to what, by when? The goals need to be very clear. Next, now you know what we want to achieve. We now need to know, well, what sort of people do we need to do that? So we need to have a clearly documented organization chart. Is it being updated regularly? And obviously in a big corporate, there's usually a whole HR department that would update the organization chart very regularly. They need to do this for the IT team or what have you. It's got to be done. And for user licenses, even as updates in their software. But importantly, we need to also just do it really just so the team knows who's who and who reports to who. But most businesses like this sort of small, medium, and upsized businesses, I ask, is there an organization chart? People say, oh, yes, it is. Yes, there is. Well, can I see it? And people will fish out maybe an organization chart from 1 year ago, 3 years ago, sometimes 5 years ago. Every time there's a change in the business, somebody leaves, somebody moves, we need to update that chart so people are 100% clear who reports to who and who's responsible for what. Then we can do position contracts or job descriptions. So every position in the organization, it's very clear what's expected of that person. What are the duties? What are their key performance indicators? What are the attributes of the kind of person that's going to be successful in that role? Because then people can sign off their position contracts and they can start managing themselves because they've got a clear job role contract to define what they need to do. Next step is, does everybody in the organization have a set of key performance indicators? The 3 or 4 things that you can use to measure their effectiveness. So obviously everybody should have their list of duties, and that sometimes might be a whole page or 2 of duties that they need to perform, but what are the key measurable outcomes that you know that they can even know for themselves every week or every month that they're getting a green light? Because human beings can actually manage themselves very well if they're given the guidelines that they need to adhere to. So that's the idea of key performance indicators. The next step can be quite a big job. How-to systems. Have we documented very clearly how we do things in this organization? So we hire new staff, we can say, I don't care how you did in your old company, this is our way of doing it. If you have my logo on your shirt, or if you are using our business card, this is our way of doing it. And we've documented into checklists, procedures, forms, training manuals, so that we get new business on, when we get new staff on, we can train them up very quickly to our way of doing things. Then also, if they're stuck, they don't have to phone you, the business owner. If somebody doesn't know how to handle something, they don't phone you and interrupt your holiday and say, boss, can you please teach me how to do X and Y? They can go somewhere to a file, and there's amazing apps now that you can actually have your training manuals and systems uploaded to an app that people can use to manage themselves. And that's why at point number 9 here, we use the word management systems. And that is exactly that, what holds all of this together. If somebody needed to get any of this information, where would they go? Is it a LeverArch file or files somewhere? Is it an app? Is it a channel? Is it there's lovely software that does this really well. They can actually go and always know they're going to get the latest vision statement. They know they can download the latest organization chart. If they've lost their job description, they know they can go into the system and download one. So what holds that all together? So as I mentioned, established businesses that are up and running, I do a lot of work in the space. It's actually a fun place to go, where we coach people through the steps of building that. And literally our last coaching session is kind of usually where that file, there's the file documented, and then we usually do a couple of training sessions to then induct the managers or the senior team members and their staff into the new system and get the team to sign off on all of this stuff. So it's actually a real fun process, because now when we've got the systems in place, now we can really start expanding. I mentioned Action Coach. I mean, we're a business with about 1,000 coaches spread out across 80 countries, and we all use the same systems. That's because the leverage. So Brad, who set up the business, he did the work years ago of documenting the systems, the procedures, the how we coach, how we get results with clients. Now, it was obviously done 26 years ago. That doesn't mean done and dusted. Our systems get updated and fine-tuned and tweaked. And I mean, lately, with in the online world we live in, I mean, our business has been revolutionized with the new stuff that the organization has been able to give us to our clients. For interest, by the way, we're just rolling out, we have a new online coaching portal where all of our clients will be getting access to an online environment where you get your own username and password, and all your bits and pieces of the stuff that we do with you in coaching will be in this environment. We also have access to training materials and all sorts of stuff that's built into the environment that we'll be using this portal to actually help our clients. There's lovely innovations like that that's coming out of where our system is getting even more, it's getting updated and becoming even more user-friendly and more powerful as we go. So the good system, now you can hire the team. So not only is a profitable business, not only a profitable business that works, but now importantly, you can hire team members to do the work for you, and you can start stepping out a little bit. So I'd like you to think about this quotation I've put up here. Most employees are motivated, energetic, committed, enthusiastic, and loyal. And often when I put up there, people, when I share this with people, I get some people that say, yeah, that makes sense, and other people say, no chance. But have a look at the second part of this quotation. There's a guy called Tom Peters. If anybody hasn't come across Tom Peters, I suggest Google him, find him on YouTube. His speaking, read some of his books. But don't you love this? Well, people are great, except when they come to work. And I get people all the time that say this. They say, oh yeah, Trevor, the trouble is nowadays you can't find good staff. And I think the better question to be asked, you should be asking yourself, why would good staff want to work for you? Because good people want to work for good companies. And either we're not yet a good company or people don't see us as a good company. And that's why those steps, you see our team comes at this point now. Once we've got our foundations right, a good marketing machine, we've got systems in place, now we have the right to ask good people to come to us. And people will actually start, because with these things in place, we'll start being known as a good place to work. And start becoming, what's that lovely word, an employer of choice, where people hear about you through their friends and they knock on the door saying, man, I've heard great things, I'd like to work there. We've got to do the work, and it's up to the owner or owners of the business to get this in place, and then only do we start attracting the right people, because there's some amazing people out there, people that want to make a dent in the universe. But remember, 18 players want to play with the 18. 18 players want to win the World Cup, and if they don't see your business as a business that's going to take them there, trust me, they either won't join in the first place, or they'll leave and join a different business. Because this is what we want to get the cycle right. The owner should be supporting the team. That's the owner's primary focus. Hiring the right people, giving them the right environment and training to perform, and whatever it is to make sure that they stay. Train them, mentor them, grow them. That should be the focus. Building an amazing team. The team's job is now to bring on clients and take amazing care of those clients so the clients never leave. The clients have a job to do. Obviously, customers should be bringing us business, bringing us repeat business, paying the bills on time, telling their friends about us. The customers are never going to be telling their friends about us if the team is not taking good care of them. The team's not going to be taking care of the customers if they don't feel like the owner is taking care of them. And then lastly, the business can do its job, because obviously the business has a job as well. I mentioned earlier the purpose of a business: to profitably create raving fans, to create investment, extra income for investment, and whatever other objectives the owner had for starting that business. And you see how that cycle can work. Each player has a role, but too often the owner is too busy having to do all the sales and marketing, him or herself, and the owner's having to do all the business stuff, the finance, the reporting, the business planning, the SIPC compliance, the Consumer Protection Act compliance, all that stuff, and no time to actually spend quality time growing and mentoring an amazing team. So there's a clear sequence that we have to focus on, and then we can build that business. And then you see, as that cycle works, the owner can step out every now and then, not having to be there all the time. And here's a lovely little guideline for any team. We're not just a business team. We call it the keys to a winning team. Strong leadership. Somebody has to be driving change, driving strategy, taking ownership. Every team has a leader. It's not often who you think it is. It's not often who you want it to be. There's got to be somebody there driving strategy, making the hard decisions. Somebody, when there's non-performers on the team, there needs to be somebody that's going to have the tough conversations and ask the non-performers to leave. A common goal. This is what we see too often in businesses. I ask a business owner, what are your goals? And they kind of, oh, I'm not really sure. And then obviously you ask the team, what are the goals? They're like, I don't know, the boss has never told us. Or maybe the boss has got some very clear goals, but has never shared them with the team. And a common goal is a real galvanizing thing. And imagine sports, we want to win the World Cup. We want to avoid relegation in our league. We want to run a 1-minute mile, whatever it is. A common goal galvanizes us and keeps us focused together. If in business we can have a clear goal, so at the very least it should be our long-term vision statement is a great one, but our regular marketing goal, our business plan, how many branches do we want to open this year? What's our revenue target? What's our sales target? Our profit goal? The number of widgets we want to produce per day, per week, per month. Those are the things that we can really align around and chase those goals. Have we documented the rules of the game, the values at very least, the job descriptions, the position contracts, the performance standards, customer complaints procedures, dress code? Have those things actually been documented, or are they in the owner's mind and not written down? Is there a clear action plan that we are updating regularly and referring to regularly? Then are we supporting risk taking? Because with those things in place, then we can allow people to kind of play to their own style, because we're all different. So what are the negotiables? What are the non-negotiables? We also we need 100% involvement or inclusion. We need everybody on board. A lot of businesses have those poison apples poison poly. There's we've all worked with people like that. A new idea comes up, and oh, I'm going to work here, and we've got to be the leader that kind of gets the buy-in of everybody, and if people don't buy in, to then be comfortable having that discussion to say, listen, I don't think there's a good match here. Maybe we should help you find a job somewhere else that you will get aligned and passionate about. So these are the kind of keys, and you can actually score your own business on a scale of 1 to 10 on each of those areas to kind of maybe get an idea of where you should be focusing first to get that team operating at a higher level. We're pretty much on time, so I don't. I want to make sure I finish these sessions on time. I'll keep the call open if anybody wants to put any questions in. There is a chat box there, so what we'll be doing is I'll wrap up exactly on time, but if you would like to throw any questions in the chat box, what have you, I will open that up. But a quick one though, this is a key thing, and I do a lot of coaching in this space. Very few business owners out there have ever been trained on recruitment. And I'll ask that question, answer it for yourself. You know, have you ever taken any courses, done training, read any books on how to recruit? And generally, most owners of small, medium-sized businesses out there have never learned how to recruit well. We have an empty chair, and very often people throw the first available person in that chair, and then spend the next 2-3 years going, why is this person here? And that's actually a disservice to that person, because often that person as well is going to think, why am I here? I shouldn't have worked here. But people, because we don't run a clear recruitment process. So if you are at that point where you're looking to hire 1 or 2 people, especially if you're a business that's looking to scale, please do come and sit down with me. We will sit down in person or meet me over a Zoom call. I love this process, and it's one of the things that empower business owners so amazingly well. Is once you learn the system, we call it the 4-hour recruitment process. Once you learn how to hire good people fast, your confidence in growing a business just changes phenomenally. And it's the most amazing process, finding good people. And now you can see the last area, synergy results. The blocks are smaller, and even though they are 2 very different areas, they're kind of similar, so I'll just talk about them together. Here's that point where a business is working without you to whatever level is right. So generally, that's the level you would hire a general manager, an operations manager, where somebody would actually now start doing the day-to-day management of the business for you to free up other people, free up to do other things. I've worked with businesses where we've got to this point and we've hired like a heavyweight general manager to take that business to a totally new level. Other businesses that have hired a sort of custodian general manager, more an operations person, just to manage the systems. I've worked with people that have promoted a PA to a GM kind of position, because the idea there is the GM is running the system, so it's different for everybody. It's not always a high salary, high skilled person. It's usually you finding the right person based on attitude. But now you have a general manager running the business, you can now start growing more businesses. And that's where a lot of people knock on our door. A lot of our clients are serial entrepreneurs, people that have this vision of not just growing one successful business, but growing multiple businesses. And that's the nature of our coaching process. And there's a quote by Richard Branson, I think sums it up so nicely. Once you've learned to run a business, and you've learned how to run your first business, business number 2, 3, 4 is so much easier. And that's what we do with people over our coaching programs. Is a lot of people have called it our coaching program an entrepreneurial mini MBA, where you use your own business as a case study, and as you learn and you're implementing, your business improves while you learn. And then when you do it the 2nd, 3rd, 4th business, it's easier and easier every time. Because it's a great quote by Jim Rohn. You know, you've got to first work on yourself. Do I have the skill to run this business? And then we start running it better. So first you learn, then you earn. And that's my role as a coach. I'm called a business coach, but in reality, I coach human beings who happen to own businesses. So I hope this has been useful. We are literally on time there. It's at what are we on? We're on 12 o'clock. So I hope you've got some great ideas and BFOs and blinding flashes of the obvious that you can take away and implement this. So I hope it has been useful. Stacey, who's on the call with me, will send out a feedback form. We'd love to have your feedback on the workshop. And we will be running more of these. So if you know anybody else that maybe wants to listen in on one of our next workshops, please, you're welcome to send us their details and we'll send them an invitation. But yeah, so some people come to our workshops and just go off and implement it. Other people say, well, you know, maybe I might need some help implementing this stuff. So if you really think you might want somebody to walk down that road with you, give us a shout and we'll help you implement it at a lot higher higher space, because you know, coaching gets results. And I love this quote here. You know, Tiger Woods, who kind of was the top golfer at one point, had a spectacular fall from grace and injuries and all sorts of issues, and he's now bounced back and he's right up at the top there again. And he's another great testimonial. As you know, people trying to do it on their own don't get there as fast as people engaging a good coaching and support team around that. And that's just one example. I mean, think of any sport or sporting event out there. The top athletes, top sports people achieve it with great coaches. So if you think you want to get there a lot faster and you want some help and somebody to push you, educate you, give you observations, give you an objective look inside the business, that's the space that we live in, and we'd love to be there for you. So I mentioned earlier, you know, we're actually just launching. I'll put this slide up here just to share with you. One of our programs is our Action Club, which is a 1-year business entrepreneurship education. It follows this, so all the stuff I've shared with you here, we drill down in a lot more detail. We teach it on a group basis. It's all online now, so you can tune in from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, actually. And we've got one of our Action Club programs that's actually relaunching in November, with the club going totally online, because these clubs used to meet face to face. With it being online, we've been able to change the pricing, the model. We've reinvented this whole program. We've put a lot of business owners through this over the years. It's one of our favorite programs. It's a cheap, affordable coaching program, but that also gives amazing results. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about that, do reach out to me. So that slide is this one there. So yeah, if you're not sure, give me a shout. Stacey will have sent out the details. You'll have our details. We do a free business assessment consultation with business owners. So if you're an established business owner, or even if you're not the owner of a business, but you're the leader of the business, like a branch manager, regional manager, what have you, and you think you want some help with your business or your business unit, book us for a session. We run a whole process where we help you look at your business from a different angle. There's a whole and we help you expose what's working, what's not working. There might be a specific issue that you just might need help on, so we'll help you there with pleasure. But at the same time, we'll get to know each other. You might then be interested in one of our programs, so you know, we can take you through the different options. Trust me, we don't hard sell coaching. You either want to be coached or not. So if you think you might be interested and we think we can help, yeah, we can take you through those different options in more detail and help you make a decision. But book a session with us regardless. I recommend sit with us whether you think you need a coach or not. You're going to get a totally different insight just in that session. And then you'll know for sure, is this right for you or is it not right for you? But also, we've got a great network of other businesses, so chances are we might need to introduce you to some other people. So come and sit with us, and I look forward to getting to know your business. And I've put this slide up here at the end for a reason. The guy in the picture there, that's Brad Sugars, who set up the business 27 years ago. So Brad is still very active driving this business. I mean, he's built many businesses, not just Action Coach. He's still very instrumental in driving this business. But I love this quotation of his: the biggest risk you can take is to do nothing. I mentioned I've been in the organization 11 years. I've been coaching full time. This is what I do. This is what I love doing. And lately we've actually been doing an exercise following up on our database of people I've met over the last 11 years. We've been reaching out to people that have come to these workshops or have sat with us but never engaged us. And it's actually been quite heartbreaking, the amount of people we've met that are now no longer in business. They didn't take action. They did not engage me. And I'm not saying you must engage me as your coach. You might have another coach you want to work with, but they've done nothing. And the business is either in worse shape than it was 2 years or 3 years or 4 years ago, or very often we're finding businesses that have shut down. So, you know, if you think you might want some help in the business, at very least come and sit with us or sit with somebody, because businesses don't fix themselves. It's about the owner of the business taking some pretty serious actions. So I look forward to meeting you and sitting down with your business. If you do want to follow us, this is our Facebook address. You can find us on Facebook. We keep regular updates there and all the events and things that we run, so follow us on Facebook. If you have a review and you'd like to give us some feedback or share your business on our Facebook page, please do so. We're encouraging people to use it as a home for business networking as well. So we look forward, and send us your Facebook details. We'll follow you back and learn more about your business. So follow us online. And yeah, let's get into action. I mentioned that Stacey will send you that website. I will send you a feedback form, so if you don't mind getting that back to us. But with that, I will let you get on. We're halfway through the week. We've got 2.5 months through this year and 5 months of the financial year, so still lots to get done. So I wish you every success in your business. Thanks for your time and have a great week. Take care. This is Trevor.